Now, disaster management teams and emergency services officials remain on high alert in KwaZulu-Natal after the week's heavy rains. A weather service level 10 warning remains in affected areas for parts of the province. But observers fear a worrying picture is beginning to emerge as more reports of devastation comes to light. Joining us now for his observation is KZN Provincial Manager of the South African Red Cross Society, Siya Hlatshwayo. Siya, good evening and thank you very much for your time. What's the extent of damage and destruction that you have observed?
Good evening to you and the viewers at home. The situation is quite worrying and devastating, as mainly we have seen some of the shelters where the displaced people they've become flooded with water, and they've even had to be evacuated and moved to newer shelters, which is quite a disturbing situation to have someone who has been displaced for this long a time. Now it is happening to them in a shelter where they were moved to a safer area. Now they have to be moved again. So it has been quite devastating to see even the mattresses and the blankets that they were using in these shelters all wet because of the rain yesterday. But then the teams have been there, have been assisting in moving them and also providing new blankets and mattresses and new relief items that are needed. Also, we're witnessing the roads are becoming very wet and slippery. As the gentleman was just saying from the paramedics, that please, people must only move only if it is necessary. So we are still watching the situation, observing the situation, or having teams that have been out on the ground, conducting assessments and also raising awarenesses about the alert that has been issued of level 10 of disruptive rains.
How are the care center coping with the number of people who are being evacuated? The Premier announcing earlier on that the number at the time was sitting at about 250 people that have been evacuated just in Tongaat and Days care centers.
Yes. I'd commend the community for taking instructions, because there was an instruction that was made to the communities that whenever they are seeing that the waters are starting to flood their households, they must take like their belongings, most important belongings, and evacuate into the centers. And as we are on the ground, we are observing that, of which that is actually minimizing the risk of even losing lives. So we were seeing people immediately evacuating, and also as the teams are there, as they were observing that even the centers now, especially the one in Days and in Tongaat, as they were getting waterlogged, we had to make a plan immediately with the government disaster management structures that they have to be evacuated to another centers, and they were evacuated. But with them, emotionally, they were very broken, and it wasn't really making sense of how is this even happening again. So it was quite testing, but we tried to provide relief immediately. We tried to mobilize resources and make them available to them immediately.
Yeah. So what are the current points of accessing those resources that you have made available at this time?
Fortunately, we've been trying to recover and also ensure that on our contingency plan we are having relief items that are on standby just in case anything can happen. So we were able to just immediately release relief items, and we are still having more relief items that we are keeping on standby and observing the situation and getting reports from our partners, the government department, and also our members that are on the ground.
Yeah, and so you're saying how are people accessing this, or are you going to the people in bringing their relief, or is there a point where they can come and collect and get some assistance?
We are delivering the items direct to the centers, because these centers, from the time people were evacuated to those centers, we've been providing them with food, prepared food, dry food, mattresses, as well as blankets. We've been providing the relief items. But also, as it is happening now, we went there physically to provide these relief items, but also we are urging the public also to share with us other affected areas so that we can go out there, do assessments, and then we allocate the right relief for those communities.
Yeah. Now, in the event that the flood-prone areas are seeing more rising levels of water, what places of accommodation are there right now that are options?
We are encouraging the use of the community halls and maybe schools, sometimes those that are seen to be safer, because most of those are government accredited structures, of which we are sure that they do meet standards of being safe. So that community members must report and also evacuate into those centers.
All right, we appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on. That is the KZN Provincial Manager for the South African Red Cross Society, Siya Hlatshwayo. They're giving us an update on the latest situation on the ground.